to order this regular board meeting of Harmony Public Schools on April 4th, 2017. It is 6:45 p.m. We have 6 board members present, so we have quorum. Do we have any public comment?
No, sir, not at this time.
Okay, so with the recommendation from our attorney, we are going to move, make a small change in the order of our agenda items. So we are going to first consider the first, number 12, consider student expulsion appeal from Harmony School of Innovation, Houston campus. So at this point, the board will convene in closed session as permitted by and in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, 07, and 082. So I kindly request all visitors or staff members who are not board members to vacate the room. So we are. All right, so it is 7:12 p.m. right now, and we are back to regular session. In closed session, the board discussed the appeal in detail, and no actions were taken. So at this point, we can entertain motions.
So I'll go ahead and make a motion that we uphold the administration's decision that was followed through due process with respect to the expulsion.
Anybody seconding that?
I second that.
All right, everybody in favor of upholding the administration decision, say aye. Aye. Okay, it's approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so our next item is approval of previous board meeting minutes. And if I'm not mistaken, actually we have one regular board meeting from February.
22.
And
The other one
is the March, the Friday, the special board meeting.
Yes, sir.
In the February one, I just saw a spelling error. Mr. Akil's last name was misspelled. So if it can be corrected. That's a small thing. Any questions, comments? If there is no comments or questions, we can entertain motions to approve this 2 previous board meeting minutes.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the previous 2 board meetings. One in February, regular board meeting, and the other one was last week, special board meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, everybody in favor of approving previous board meetings minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, they are approved. So our next item is approval of resolution of the Board of Directors of Harmony Public Schools authorizing the execution and delivery of a lease agreement between Harmony Public Schools and Charter School Solutions and any other documents to be executed in connections with the issuance of the loan.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I will call Dr. Akildis for this item, that he's going to explain to you why we need this lease agreement and resolution to be approved by you.
Last year, you approved 5 leases agreements with CSS, Charter School Solution, and one of those leases was Grand Prairie project. And due to a conflict on the land on the city of Grand Prairie, as you're well aware, that we decided to cancel that project and move the funds to purchase one of our current buildings. So the Grand Prairie need is still there. That was project to divide up nature school. So there is a nearby land which is approved by the city. So this is the lease agreement for the new Grand Prairie site. The resolution is the same language that you adopted about a year, maybe 18 months ago.
When you say move the funds, I missed that part. Did you mean the funds from the bond sale or from the
Yes, sir.
ground bond sales, right?
Yes,
Last bond sale, okay.
I don't want to say things in a wrong way, but El Paso, we know we have a school in El Paso. We've been leasing from a nonprofit for a long time. That building, that nonprofit went bankrupt, and CSS had the opportunity to purchase that land. So they were going to get that new money for this. So instead, and they used the bonds for Grand Prairie, old Grand Prairie location. So when I say move the funds, I mean the Grand Prairie location is now El Paso location,
Okay.
which we had school for 10 years.
Okay.
So they are now our landlord in El Paso. So 5 leases you approved at that time is there, but one of them is not Grand Prairie, it's El Paso for a current school. So at the time you approved 5 schools, the 5th school now is a new location, so it requires a new lease.
And this is also again 20-year lease. Was it? What was the term?
30 years.
30-year
30 years
lease.
lease.
Okay.
And then you do have a copy of the
Do
lease and the
you want to
resolution.
update? We have a new board member. What the charge solution is, and our agreement is with them.
Sure.
Quickly.
So anytime, Ms. Morales and members of the board, that we enter into lease agreement with Charter School Solution is a non-profit organization who is established to help Harmony Public Schools to acquire reasonably low rate, land and buildings. So it's required by our board to this, every lease agreement will come to the board for approval. And so far, the same agreement actually has been approved and reviewed by our councils and bond folks. So this is for best interest of Harmony Public Schools to, acquire this property in North Dallas. Now it's actually near Granbury. We're moving that project to another location. So. This is the same lease that we use for others.
Yes,
am I
sir.
correct?
Yes, sir. And this was discussed in Finance Committee last Tuesday or Wednesday, sorry. Wednesday, in detail as well.
So the terms here are 30 years? 30 years is standard? for the-
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? The Charter Solutions also acquire this through bond sales, right?
Yes, ma'am, sir.
Okay. So, God forbid we never discussed it for us, so knock on the wood, but if the bonds are defaulted. What happens to our lease agreement?
Bonds defaults only if you don't make payments.
But that's, they do make, the charge
No,
solutions
no,
make
we
pay.
pay them. We pay
That's
them.
our lease, right?
Yeah, we
do-
pay there, and then they pay
Okay,
the
but
bond.
for some other reason, like, you know, we hear these stories, like something happens and their bond, you know, I say because a different entity. If,
But we
you know-
pay their, loan, basically bond.
oh, we
Each-
pay the loan, we don't
Yes.
pay the lease?
It's a basic lease.
Each,
We pay lease, and then they pay their bond payment.
so each lease is structured as a single bond sale. You can think it's isolated. So Charge School Solutions is a conduit, conduit on this. So we pay we make the payments, and it goes directly to trustee. So only the spread that they are supposed to make
Uh-huh,
stays in Charge School Solutions,
I see.
which, because they are non-profit and their bylaw says they have to use the money for Harmony students and
okay.
Harmony scholarship funds, Harmony teacher grants, and Harmony different events, science fairs. So they have to use that money for Harmony anyways. So if it fails, bond defaults only if Harmony is not going to make lease
Payments.
payments.
Okay.
And Harmony will be defaulting in its bonds as well. Meanwhile, that's a
Are these
for
bon-
that bond, not the other bond.
Okay.
Are these bonds insured at all? Is there any kind of insurance against those bonds?
It's insured based on our Harmony's credit,
Yeah, okay, all right, so that's a collateral then.
collateralized
yes,
by
sir.
our credit.
If you don't pay, they cannot pay.
So we are also liable for those bonds? Can we say that?
If-
Other than our own bonds?
Yes, sir. I mean, any lease, for example, if we sign a lease for 20 years in San Antonio,
Uh-huh.
like 2 years ago, we are liable with that. If you don't make it, we just go there, that person can get revenues for rest of the lease, 12-year rent, they can sue and try to get it from us. So
Have we ever been in a position where we have defaulted on any of our bonds?
No, sir,
No,
never.
no.
Again, for the sake of
Not
new board trustee, we have BBB rated. We are one of the 4 charters in states, I believe, 4 or 5 charter states get that rating. And our next bond sale is coming up in May. May 9th, you will approve that. We are getting S&P rating and Finch, not Finch, the other one. One more rating agency to rate us, so we're going to be double rated for this time.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Harmony is one of the strongest charter entity in the state, maybe in the nation, in terms of its finances and bond obligation. Our bonds are sold really quickly. It's very there's a huge demand for our bonds.
I want to point out that I never asked this question for Harmony bonds. I was under the impression that this is completely separate entity, bonds are separate, and then we are only leasing, and they use our leasing as a kind of
Guarantee.
proof
Our-
that as a guarantee. But now I understand it better that it's more closer, like, and we are liable. So I understand that. Okay.
Technically, only obligation we have is the lease document.
Lease, so again, just to make it clear, we are obligated to pay lease, the lease payment. If you don't, like for example, you lease your apartment, your house, and if you don't make your payment, right, you are obligated to pay the rest of the amount. If it's 5 years, 5 years. If it's 2 years, lease agreement, 2 years. Same thing. If you don't pay, if you're default, we have to pay their 20 years lease if you don't make the payment.
Sure.
So it's technically tied to their payment.
Bonds. Okay.
Only difference is a 30-year lease, So life of the bonds, there's a lease guaranteeing the revenue, the lease.
Okay.
And again, this resolution says that as well. The reason we work with CSS is the development cost is way cheaper than what we have. This is our experience in the projects. And we have better access to money, cheaper money. We sell out bonds. Our bonds are less interest because they are AAA rated. But development cost on CSS was way lower. The last project they did was, the construction was $138 a square foot cost in El Paso project for grand name building. So that's the mechanism. Every deal, we just analyze and look. If we do it, how much it's going to be. If CSS does it, we lease it, how much it's going to be. We always choose the lowest one.
Okay. Any questions? Any other questions, comments, or we can entertain a motion?
If there's no further questions, I'll go ahead and move for the approval of resolution of Board of Directors of Harmony Public Schools authorizing the execution and delivery of the a lease agreement between Harmony Public Schools and Charter School Solutions and any other documents to be executed in connection with the issuance of the loan.
Second.
All right, so everybody in favor of approving this resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's approved. Thank
Thank you,
you,
sir.
Dr. Aguilas. All right. Consider approval of instructional materials allotment and TICS certifications for 2017-2018 academic year.
Yes.
Hi,
Hello.
I'm Ms. Malloy. I'm the Director of Instructional Materials. I am just looking for the certification for the 2017-2018 academic year. This is just the certification that is stating that every instructional material that we use is qualified 100% with the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills. This is something that we have to do every year in order to order our instructional materials and also utilize TEA's EMAT system in order to draw money down. So this only requires a signature from the board president and the board secretary. And this will be for the 7 districts for Harmony.
Okay. I think just like you said, actually every year we do this, so there's no update or nothing that we need to be aware of, right?
No,
It's the
this is,
same usual.
every year we do this. This is just formalities that we have to cover just to show that we are covering the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills and that the materials that we decide to use are covering the curriculum that TEA would want us to cover in order to get that 100% for TEACS.
Sure.
No, this would correlate with, or should be consistent with what we look at and evaluate in the academic committee when the materials are brought through.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Would this actually correlate with the materials that we have evaluated over the last year that comes to the academic committee in terms of all the materials, the books and everything that we see at that particular point in time? Or is it a little bit more than that?
Every book that we choose for all of our subjects are adopted by the state, which means that it's on the list
Okay.
currently as an adopted material that the state says is 60% or higher of TEACS value. So everything that we choose is on that list. We don't choose anything that is not state adopted.
Okay, very good. Okay, thank you.
Any motion?
I will move that we approve the instructional materials allotments and the TEACS certification for 2017-2018.
Anybody seconding?
I second.
Okay, everybody in favor of approving the instructional material allotment and TICS certification for 2017-2018, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's approved. Thank you. We need to sign it? Okay.
Sign on this first line here for all of these pages and then the secretaries.
Okay. Mr. Keskin is at the end, towards the end. So I just want to remind board members, when you ask question or make motion, please speak to the microphone for the video purposes. This is going to be on the web, so we want people to hear the comments, questions, and motions as well. All right. So the next item is consider approval of revised board policy PG 2.1.3 compensatory and accelerated services and dropout recovery program.
Yes, this item from academic department, our chief academic officer, Dr. Özer, is here.
Good evening. This policy basically is from policy group 2, instruction, and this is compensatory and accelerated services. Harmony schools must provide accelerated or compensatory educational services based on needs assessment of students who are at risk of dropping out. And we have basically added a new section here called dropout recovery. Dropout recovery refers to students, our efforts for students who have basically left school, who have not graduated during their senior year. And we have efforts to bring those students back to school, give them credit, and so that they can graduate. We have students with barriers. We have students who have not passed the state exit level tests. We have students who may be overage. So basically, our counselors are working with them, and they are providing accelerated instruction. They are providing flexible hours, and they're providing guidance. They're contacting parents. So these are basically, this is a policy that is required by the state, and we are adopting it and making it part of our compensatory and accelerated services.
A question?
What's currently in place?
Currently, what we have is basically, we do have these already in session. We did not have the policy in writing. The counselors are currently, they have a list of students who have not graduated at the end of their senior year. They're coming to school. We are giving them opportunities to take 4 hours of instruction a day. And then we're giving them, some of them are coming back to take their EOCs. And our counselors are working closely with them so that we can reduce the dropout rates and we can increase our graduation rate close to 100%. We've always had close to 100% graduation rates, but with these students, as our numbers are growing, we're currently at 98, around 98%.
It is really great to help the students.
Thank you.
So essentially, your response to Ms. Daisy is that we're already doing this, but we're just putting it in writing.
Yes, we
Is that
realized that this had to be part of the policy,
All right.
and Ms. Baca has been talking to the state, and we made it an official policy, and that's what we're proposing right now.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
So in the state, in other schools or like other districts, is there any policy similar to this one?
Yes.
So did we look at them as well?
Yes, this was
Sir.
basically adopted from HISD, Houston ISD. They have a similar policy.
Okay.
And legal counsel reviewed this? Right?
He's shaking his head.
He didn't hear.
All right. Bob, there was a question to you.
The policy was reviewed? Oh,
This policy.
So this is adopted from HISD? Okay.
Okay.
From Houston ISDs.
Okay.
Not just one, many of them. You looked at many of them or just a few of them?
Well, Houston ISD was one that we worked with, we looked at. There probably are other ISDs that have similar policies, but I don't think we have looked into that.
We looked at Fort Bend and some other local ISDs, and we looked at some of the other charters too. They practice something similar to this. They do like an extension to it where they bring in.
Okay, it is good to put them in writing, whatever we have been doing.
Yes.
Good practice.
Thank you. So any other questions, comments? Otherwise, we need a motion to approve this revisions.
All right, so I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve, we consider approval of revised board policy PG 2.1.3, compensatory and accelerated services and dropout recovery program, which is now put in writing, validating a functional policy that's in existence.
I second.
Okay, everybody in favor of approving this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's
Thank you.
approved. Thank you, Dr. Uzer. Thank you, Ms. Baca. The next item is consider approval of revisions to the compensation manual due to TIF, Teacher Incentive Fund, grant requirements.
yes, sir. Dr. Pollard is here. This is another small update and revision in our policies.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Board of Directors. As you know, we have celebrated TIF grant, receiving 26.7 million. And most of this money is going to as bonuses to the teachers. So as you know, we had some numbers in our compensation manual for bonuses for teachers. And accordingly, for the TIF grant approval from the federal government, we are updating our numbers over there. So there are two documents updating the teacher and other staff bonuses if they become eligible, if they comply with certain criteria in terms of student achievement. So this is this.
So what is different in this document? So what are we updating?
We are updating the
Only bonuses?
the bonuses,
Where are they in this document?
I think-
PBL bonuses, the student performance bonuses. So we have added some.
I think you cannot tell from printouts. On the computer, they are red color, right?
Yes,
The
yes,
changes are in red color?
Yes, sir. Exactly what we have in TIF. So we are putting it in the compensation manual so we can pay them
So it's
accordingly.
mostly increase, right? Because we
Yes,
have this
all of them
new...
increase. Teachers were $1,000 for the bonus if they, maximum. Now it is becoming $3,000. So it's a pretty good increase for the teachers.
So once we approve this, how do, teachers... I mean, this is for next year, right? This is our compensation manual for, it's going to be effective starting next year?
Actually,
No?
we are going to pay for the next year, but the student performance of the previous year,
Sure.
which is this year, so that's why we want to include in this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yes.
Okay. I see.
And there are some other things that were not in the policy before. For example, stipend for teacher leaders who develop some PD, videos, something like that. So to encourage teachers to contribute to professional development of other teachers. So some lead teachers. These are new, but again, it is in the TIF.
Okay, so we just want to make sure we're consistent across the board. It's already in TIF, and we're going to put it in our manuals.
yes, sir.
Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I think that's very good. And anything, being that I was once a teacher, I guess still a teacher, teachers will always appreciate something like this.
Yes, sir.
All right, very good.
What's the priority school bonus? Why are there priority schools listed?
Yeah, prior to the schools, the labels which we define, academic department defines, those are not the campuses who fail in the STAR testing or accountability as for the TEA requirements. These are the schools which we label them prioritize, relatively having lower scores, but still passing.
Compared to our standards, compared to our schools, those are the lowest among all the 48. We think that they are priority, we pay attention, and they get additional funding.
So make sure they are passing, the students are getting the necessary services.
So does this say somewhere, this is as long as we have TIF funds, which will run out in 4 years or something, 5 years? Or
Actually, we are approving only for 1 year, so we have TIF now. So when TIF grant
Expires.
then we have to update it.
we'll change it? Okay.
Yeah, if you want to, yeah.
Unless we get some other new
Yeah, because
grants
compensation manual has to be
update every-
approved every year, so.
I think we are updating it almost every other meeting. Not every year.
That's a good thing or bad thing, sir?
As long as we increase salaries, bonuses, that's a good thing. We don't mind. We don't mind.
Every time we make somebody happy,
Yeah.
so.
If you decrease salary, we blame on the board.
Yeah, sure.
They made a decision to decrease.
Which will never happen, so. All right. So I guess, the changes are here. It's mostly updates and the TIF grant, maybe, Dr. Terim, in your CEO report, are you going to talk about their visit? So the TIF that visited the last 2 days? Or should we just?
Not
should-
this
should we-
time, because we have not, did the
Finish.
final, finish.
Okay. But just for sake of, as a TIF grant or this type of grants, generally when they come for evaluation, they meet with a board chair also, with board member or board chair, so they interviewed me as well today. We had, nice conversation, discussion. It was interesting to hear what they find out, their assessment. Also, they try to find out what the board and things and, this type of things.
Yeah.
So I would like to take this opportunity again, thank people who participated in writing this grant and who is now leading the efforts, Mr. Brock and everybody else. So it's very good thing, to have this grant, and then most of it will go back to the teachers. So
Yeah.
it's great.
Here, here.
All right. So any questions, comments, or we can entertain a motion to approve this exciting item?
So I'll go ahead and make a motion. We consider approval of the revisions to the compensation manual due to the TIF grant requirements as submitted.
I second that.
All right. Everybody in favor of approving these revisions to compensation manual, say aye. Aye. They're approved. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Polat.
Thank you.
All right, so now we're going to go to the committee minutes and the actions. The first one, consider approval and ratification of the minutes and of the actions of the Finance Committee meeting on March 29th, 2017.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, next three items are committee meeting minutes. And as you all know, every meeting is attended by at least 2 board members, except academic committee, which is, I think, consists of 3 members. So first, I would like to invite our CFO to talk about the Finance Committee.
Finance Committee met on March 29th with presence of Dr. Koch and Mr. Keskin. Mr. Keskin chaired the meeting. CFO and Purchasing Director, Mr. Bayer, was present. There was first item was creating pools for qualified vendors for TIF grant projects. There was project number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. They are generally, I'm not expert on this, but they are generally development, content development contracts and training contracts for the life of TIF grant. And also another bidding was, vendor was qualified for Odessa catering services. In Odessa, the caterer did not provide qualified meals for reimbursement federal guidelines. So we have another, we did the bidding, and another another vendor was qualified. And the next item was awarding that qualified catering vendor for Odessa campus. The TIF grant qualified vendors will be awarded in the next board meeting. And also, committee considered to extending special education service contracts another year. They were already awarded last year. They are qualified for extension with the same terms and conditions. Those services were also extended. And there was few miscellaneous financial procedure items, updates were discussed. And also, committee convened a closed session, discussed real estate matters, one of which was the resolution that you approved minutes ago. And then board convened, adjourned at the end, the committee. Dr. Koch and Mr. Keskin was the board members in the committee.
Dr. Achilles, thank you very much. You summarized everything well. And also, I would like to thank you for giving us the state funds and the federal funds, the differences, and which one is more strict.
Yes, sir.
On that meeting. Thank you very much for the information.
So for the first item, the project number 1 through 6, just very quick, it's too long. Did we award the bids to individual, or we created a pool again like we do in other things?
Yes, sir. In the minutes, we have the pools. There are many sections like this.
Yeah.
So, for example, project number 2, there was 3 qualified vendors. There is I didn't want to go through the process, but there's an evaluation committee, and they met. 3 of them had scored more than 70. Bloomboard, TXCE, and UT Austin. Next project there was 5, etc. So
Okay.
these are the qualified vendors, and academic department works on which contracts goes to which. Some
They will
projects will
choose
be.
later on, right?
Yes,
It's
yes,
like- okay.
yes.
It's not like construction meeting that we awarded one person, but it's
We
options.
qualified the vendors.
Okay, very good. Any other questions, comments? Tonight I'm spelling police. There's a TIF grant is spelled with 2F in one occasion, so you might want to change that. I think it's on. All right. If there is no questions, comments, then we can have a motion, probably from the Finance Committee board members.
I make a motion to approve, for approval and ratification of the minutes and of the actions of the Finance Committee meeting on March 29th, 2017.
Anybody seconding?
I'll second that.
All right, everybody in favor of approving this motion, say aye. Aye. It's approved. Thank you, Dr. Akels. All right, the next item is consider approval and ratification of the minutes of the actions of the Facilities and Construction Committee meeting on March 29th, 2017.
Dr. Köse, he is here to
Good
walk you
evening.
through about our construction updates.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good
Welcome.
evening.
Our Facilities and Construction Committee met in March 29, 2017, Wednesday at 6 p.m. We had 2 items to discuss, 2 bid award projects that we discussed. The first one was to consider approval of construction bid award for Harmony School of Innovation, Carrollton Gym build-out project. We had 2 bids submitted for that project. The first bid was submitted by Target Design and Management with the amount of $3,133,000, and the second bid was Macrocosm with $2,367,677.67. Our architect reviewed, evaluated all these provided, submitted proposals and recommended rebid due to nearly 30% difference between lowest bidder and the second lowest bidder. Besides, due to the limited construction timeline, our architect is recommending the project to be rebid and with the new timeline. That will also help us increase the attraction by giving extended timeline for this project. So this second item was consider approval of construction bid award for Harmony Science Academy Garland Gym remodel project. We had 3 bids submitted for this project. The first one was Modern Realty with the amount of $1,018,000, and the second one was Tegrity Contractors with $897,777. TDM, Target Design and Management Construction, is third bid proposal with $865,000. After our architect reviewed these submitted proposals and recommended lowest and responsible bidder, Target Design and Management, to be awarded for this project. For the first item, I actually forgot to mention about one little item. Our architect also recommended the Harmony School of Innovation project to be procured with competitive seal proposal procurement method.
Why?
Due to, because the building, the gymnasium building is requested by city to be built as a shelter for our current elementary and high school campuses. So he thinks that this is a very serious project, and he wants to evaluate the quality of the companies, because if something in the future happens, and a lot of people will be impacted. So he wants to make sure the contractor is a good contractor that could handle this project properly, and and also satisfy the city. City also very sensitive as well, for our projects.
So when you say a new timeline, like what will be, like we approve it tonight and then you start working, when will be the bid opening? What's a good amount of time that he's talking about?
We had
5
about-
months, 6 months?
We had about 4.5 months on this one, and it's a very normal timeline for a gym project. But recently in Dallas market, the construction business went really high, and for that reason, a lot of the companies they pick up packages for our project, but they didn't submit a bid. We called them back and see what happened, and they said that this timeline will not work in Dallas. Recently, it's really high.
It will be longer than 6
So we're going to
months.
extend it to about 7.5 months.
Okay.
They used to be, they could order concrete trucks within few days. Now there's a backup to 20-25 days just to order concrete.
Sure.
So the construction companies are not really taking any more jobs or telling us that there will be delay. Which is okay. I mean, for this project, I think it's okay.
And it's not like the campus doesn't have a gym. They have a gym right now that they're
Yes.
using, so it's,
Okay.
we have
Yeah,
time.
we're not in a hurry. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
That's-
we're not in a
yes.
That's good actually. Good planning, good reconsideration. I like it. Okay. Any
So-
other questions for these
So
two
we
items?
voted to adjourn the committee meeting, and we recommend approval of the meetings of the facilities and construction committee meetings.
Okay, so for that to happen, we need a motion.
I'll go ahead and make the motion for the approval and ratification of the minutes and of the actions of the Facilities and Construction Committee meeting on March 29, 2017.
All right, anybody seconding that?
Second.
Okay, so everybody in favor of approving this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's approved. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you very
Kesir.
much.
Thank you.
All right, so our last action item is consider approval and ratification of the minutes and of the actions of the academic committee meeting on March 10th, 2017.
Dr. Özer?
Good evening, board members. March 10th, 2017, the academic committee meeting was held, and we had two agenda items. One was the Bloomboard pilot, and the other one was curriculum policy. Bloomboard is currently one of the programs that our teachers are using. Currently, 150 teachers and 15 program leaders, coaches across Harmony are using this program as a pilot. This is an online professional development opportunity for our teachers. This is being funded by TIF grant, Teacher Incentive Funding Grant, and this allows our teachers to choose professional development sessions and gain micro-credentials. Micro-credentialing is big now. It allows teachers to submit artifacts and some work and then get feedback based on their observations and their work that they did with the new learning that they had, and Bloomboard is providing feedback to the teachers. We're going to be doing this pilot for 1 year, and at the end of 1 year, we will decide if we want to make it system-wide or if we would like to, maybe make use of the program in some of the areas. The second item we had was curriculum policy. Curriculum policy item, we can name it different ways. It may be called curriculum blueprint or curriculum management plan. Harmony currently has a in-house built curriculum. We have our own assessments. We have our own approach to professional development. We have an instructional framework. This policy will allow us to bring everything together and to create a management plan. This will guide us on how we develop and how we write the curriculum here, and this will also guide our districts and classrooms, our teachers, on how to implement the curriculum. We're trying to bring protocols to how we update the curriculum. We're trying to bring protocols to how we choose instructional resources. We're trying to allow our teachers to have a voice in the system. So basically, with this policy, we're going to also present it to our board to approve it, and then later on, we will be able to say Harmony has a curriculum management plan that is being developed here at the central office and implemented on all campuses. And we know some of the districts have done some of these plans. Humble ISD is one, Bryan ISD is one. And this came out of a training that we received by a group called Curriculum Management Consultants. This is a group that is all over the United States, and one of the groups that we can say is an expert in curriculum and instruction. So those were the two items that we have discussed on the academic committee meeting.
All right. Any questions, comments?
So this Bloomboard is a pilot program right now?
That is correct. It's currently a pilot. We have selected teachers.
We are piloting.
We are piloting
it. They are.
Yeah, we have chosen teachers from all subjects, all levels, all campuses. So it's a great, diverse group right now, and we're going to be getting feedback in the.
So what is the next step? If
the next
feedback
step.
is good?
The next step is at the end of 1 year, and of course throughout the year we will be evaluating, we will be monitoring, and micro-credentialing is something like, you're a college professor, you would know. It's not like a 45-hour course. It's more like you're taking a professional development session online on your own, and then you have homework, and you submit this. For example, your homework could be to apply your new learning in the classroom and write a reflection on it. And you submit this, and then Bloomboard gives you feedback. Experts in Bloomboard gives you feedback. So you have a 3-hour of micro-credential, not necessarily 3 credits, which is 45 hours. You have 3 hours of this little credential that you can use. And some of these credentials can be brought together and can turn into a certificate. So it's more like not necessarily completing college credit, but completing some hours and providing artifacts, evidence that you have learned new material.
I think
After this thing is, after we decide that this is a good thing, so that will be system-wide.
We will see, we will see if we will apply it across the system. It depends on the funds as well. It is great professional learning. It is great personalized learning, because teachers do a needs assessment, self-assessment, and they can choose which areas that they will need to improve themselves on. It could be system-wide, yes.
Do you have any feedback?
Go ahead.
Do you have any feedback from the teachers? Have you done like a survey on?
We have started about very recently. So we have started, we would say maybe a month ago. So we're definitely going to get feedback, by the end of this semester, and then another feedback in September. So we have 1 full year till February, March next year. We have not gotten feedback yet, but we will be happy to update you, when we get some feedback on that. But so far, we're getting, what we have been getting is people are excited to be part of it. And in the first day, and we've made it first come, first serve basis, so the spots were filled very quickly. So teachers are excited to be part of the program.
Actually, if we can share that presentation that Mr. Yilmaz did in our academic committee to all board members, that will be helpful. I can comment that I was very impressed with it, because I like the part that you said, the professional development, we send our teachers, principals, and even us, we go to professional development. But here, to get this micro degree, they have to show that they are actually using what they learn in that professional development in classroom. Let's say if you send teacher, you pay $500 or $1,000, how to use, this technology in math class, right? And then this is one thing, this is good professional development. But when they come back and show it and get some credit for that, that's good for them, that's good for students, and good for the school administrators. And so I think it's good that we are piloting and looking forward to other updates, but sharing that, document will help also. So we get to, in the academic community, we get to learn about all this, which is exciting, but I think from time to time we need to share it with all board members.
I think another advantage of that program is that the participants are getting feedback not just from us at Harmony, but from experts in the fields that they've chosen outside of the Harmony system, who are already credentialed and experts in their field. And they are giving them the feedback to when they submit their reports from their project.
That's true. All right, any other questions or comments, or we can entertain a motion?
I make a motion that the minutes of the academic committee of March
10th,
be approved.
and actions also.
And actions, well, we had mentioned.
Yeah, I think we had for the board polls. Okay, anybody seconding?
I'll second.
All right, everybody in favor of approval and ratification of the minutes and of the actions of the academic committee meeting on March 10th, 2017, say aye. Aye. They are approved. Thank you, Dr. Ozer. All right, so our next item is the information item. It's the CEO report.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I would like to take this opportunity to present you a report regarding our organization this month. And you have now received two separate documents. I'm going to start with a document titled CEO Report. It's a PowerPoint presentation. And then following with this report, I'm going to talk about the second document that is titled HPA Statistics. And the second page, remember last board meeting, not long ago, Friday, we had a very rich discussion. And as a result of that meeting Friday, you asked me to provide some information. And I will walk you through with this data and numbers. So let me begin with the CEO reports. So I have collected some information from 4 different departments. At this time, we have more than 4 departments, but I just want to bore you and swarm with a lot of information. And I'm not going to bore you with this late on this day. So first one, I will start with academic department. And these are just highlights. And we'll get into this detail if you have any question at the end of my presentation. So what I received from the academic department that, just recently, 2017, the organization called Niche, came up with best high schools in the United States, in America. And so far, we have 3 high schools in this list in the top 100. And so there's a link there. Of course, obviously, we can provide the link via email. You can search and look more details. And a couple of months ago, there was another report, another publication, actually listed a dozen of our high schools in the top 500 in the United States. So every time when different organization, nonprofit or for-profit, or US News and World Report, when they list best high schools, always, we have multiple schools in those lists. So we are proud of that. The next page, or next slide, titled Engagement and Support Department. We have Engagement and Support Department that, conduct a lot of, activities for, parents, students, and teachers. One of the highlights of this department is home visits. If you look at the home visits number 2015-16, which we had 3,500 home visits. Now, from last year to this year, there is an almost 48% increase in our home visits. And if you look at the number of staff involved in those visits, it jumped from 720 staff members to 1,500. It's almost 115% increase. If you all recall, when we first started this organization in 2000, one of our goal is to create, a strong relationship between our school and families. As part of the program, initially when we were on the 1 or 2 schools, we used to do more than 90% of our parents visited at home once. We get, larger and larger. Of course, unfortunately we don't, follow the same percentages. But our goal is really now with this tracking system that we have in place, that we want to go up to that numbers. Of course, 90% home visits are not really realistic.
I think it's the second step.
Oh, I'm talking about the second page. I apologize. The attachment title CEO report. You had a question? I think you have a question or no?
No, you answered it.
All right.
I didn't know what home visits were.
Yes.
So you answered it.
Yes.
Thank you.
So in that, I mean, I can't go into detail in what we do in home visits, but and then there is also research being conducted between Texas A&M and HBS regarding this, home visits and engagement. We continue to receive feedback from our parents and employees via survey and focus groups. Recently we have partnered with Region 4 Education Service Center about the home visit program. And we are really ramping up this program to make sure this home visit can be a national model for many schools and charters moving forward.
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there a needs assessment that's being done when they go to the home visit about other services that they might need or resources?
Not necessarily, but when we go home, we don't really only talk about discipline issues. We just try to engage with teachers and families and try to understand. Obviously, maybe try to create bond initially. And for high school kids, many of our teachers, counselors talk about, application, college choices and things like that. In terms of specific need assessment, we don't do assessment at home. We just, try to be a friendly, casual visits. That is the only purpose.
Well, so what happens if you do identify that there's a problem, maybe a home that doesn't have any electricity, or there's a lot of people living in the home? I mean, do you refer them to services that are available in our city?
Not at this time. That's a good question, but I mean, we don't ask our teachers to, do that. But of course, in this case, we have students. They live with foster parents. We have kids sometimes live with their grandparents, not immediate families. And of course, teachers, which what I have done in the past, discuss and try to help these students. I mean, I can comfortably say in the past, we even financially helped these students if necessary. Collect money among us and provided pocket, money. But these are done, not just system-wide.
Well, and the only reason I'm asking is because if they are in an environment that doesn't have electricity or there's no food or something like that, I mean, they're not going to be able to come to school and learn.
Yes.
And so I would just, that's how I was trying to figure out if we do anything beyond, just the visit.
Yeah, I mean, if there are other resources available that we all know, we can certainly inform our engagement department. And if we come across with families like that, certainly we can, direct them to resources that are available. I know there are organizations, nonprofit organizations in Houston, help families with needs, clothing, those kind of stuff.
There's a lot of them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just one question, Dr. Turin.
Yes, sir.
The research project with Texas A&M, what's the timeline on that? And when can we expect to publish the results and the parameters under which that research is being conducted?
Mr. Demirci, do we know the timeline with the...
Yes, sir.
So the research was being conducted last year during May, June, and July, and we got the results in the first week of August. And we will do the same this year. Hopefully we'll start in May and get the feedbacks from teachers and parents this time.
The home visits, is this high schools or a combination of middle school, high schools?
It's all pre-K through 12.
All the way through.
And we have focus groups such as transition grades from 5 to 6, 7 to 8, and 12 to college.
Right.
And also we have focus groups in STEM education, and of course pre-K due to our newly grant in Austin, Texas.
Okay, all right, very good, thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
If you don't have any more questions, I'm going to move on to the communication department. Highlights on the communication department. That is, as of today, I believe, communication department have trained our Aspire principals in terms of external crisis, how to deal with external and crisis communication, including media and community relations. Prints are too small. I need my glasses. But we have Mrs. England here if you have any question regarding that program. In terms of media relations, there are more than 50 media pitches has been done that resulted in 16 unique story replacement across the state and nearly 30 million impressions nationwide. So that's a great accomplishment. And I believe in terms of web and digital, there's a new server, the main website, right, Ms. England? And then in terms of graphic design, there was 30 different projects completed in the central office, and approximately 5 to 7 projects in each district distribution has been done internally. All right, and the next one is human resources. I have 2 slides regarding human resources. With your approval, last several meetings, now I can comfortably say we have raised the salaries for teachers and administrators to match, compete with surrounding ISTs. That really made all of our teachers and administrators happy. Compensation system we just revised again, has changed and implemented throughout the system. Teacher retention rate has, second slide, teacher retention rate has improved by 11%. I believe again this is as a result of improving our work conditions and salaries. Average teacher experience increased to 3.9, almost 4%, from last year 1.7%. And best place to work rating at Glassdoor increased to 3.9% from 2.4%. There's also improvement of 50%. For each teacher position, I'm sorry? Oh, rating.
Out of what? Yeah, 5?
Out of 5. So it's almost 4. And for each teacher position, we received 10.5 application. That's also great.
Is this the first year we're doing that, in terms of gathering that data?
Is this the first year, Mr. Polat? Is we have a new, HR software. It's, I believe, it tracks this program, these numbers, right, which is great.
I thought I'd ask.
Yeah.
You said no data for last year. I don't know if that was just an aberration.
That is correct, sir.
Right, so
it's a new software.
Okay.
And I mentioned before, we have gone through accreditation system by an independent non-profit organization called Southern Accreditation System, which is Advanced Ed. So
Okay.
we are now Advanced Ed accredited institution system-wide. The second largest districts in Texas as a public school. We are the second one. The other one is, I think, Texas City or some district is smaller than us. Received the system-wide accreditation.
Dr. Taram, that
Yes, sir.
accreditation was for the system or for the individual schools? or
For
the districts?
entire system.
For the entire
Yes,
system.
sir. Many districts ask accreditation for certain high-performing schools like Port Bend ISD or Houston ISD will only ask accredited for really high-quality, affluent schools, get an advanced ed certification. We have asked to be rated every school district, every one of our campuses. So we receive system-wide accreditation. And then finally, for human resources, net promoter index recommended to others to work, 57% up from last year's 40%. So, Mr. Polat, what is promoter index? So that's improving also.
So do we collect this, or this comes from, again, like Glassdoor type of outside? Okay, we got. It's with the service. So we asked them, would you recommend somebody else to work for Harmony? Okay.
So this report entails, of course, 4 separate departments. Next board meeting, I'm going to talk about more information from other departments. So let me take you to next document.
Question, Dr. Salam.
Yes, sir.
For the human resources, second page, what is the teacher retention rate for
78%.
for other schools, other districts? I mean, for the other
I don't
ISDs?
have that number. I don't have that number, but
Roughly, around
roughly for charter schools, either at same or less, I would say. For districts, it's different. For charters, you know, I think we are the leading in the industry, I would say, in the top 10. But I can find out the numbers for others. Do you know? I know, but you know, I don't have the hard numbers. So, whatever I say, it's going to be an
So
anecdotal.
last year, I remember we talked about this. So 11% increase is a very good effort. Very good. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is improving. It is improving, and we want to be the best place to work in the state. All right. So the next document, title says HBS statistics. So if you remember, you asked me to talk about 3 things during the last meeting. Mr. Stewart wasn't present. So one was, what is our accountability rating, our schools, where we stand in terms of our rating in our schools in the state. The second was the graduation and retention rate, and the third one was principal relocation issues that we discussed. How many principals we move from location to location. So again, these are just a summary of what I have. I don't want to bore you with very detailed information, but I will walk you through quickly. The first, on first page, number 1, it says HPS accountability and rating for 2016. And all 7 HPS districts, as you know, we operate 7 districts. In each district, we have multiple campuses. All of them met standards, state standards. Texas average is about 94%. So we have 100%, Texas 94%. If you look at our school campuses, we had only 46 campuses rated last year because it goes back 1 year. So 100% of our campuses met state standards. The state average is about 88%. And 36 campuses receive at least one distinction meaning that, that perform at a higher level than others. And 6 campuses receive all designation available in Texas. And there's about 400 campuses in the state, accomplish this designation, and you have the list of all the schools. The next table on page 1 talks about comparison our schools to other high-performing schools. Like, personally, I would not compare myself, my organization with other, sister schools, I call it, or friends. But just to give you a picture where we are, we prepared a table comparing KIPP, IDA, YES, and Uplift. And if you look at their accountability, performance rating, how many of their campuses met, how many of them requires improvement, and you will see Harmony is 100% and others is 85, 91, 92, and 86%. So when we compare ourselves to other high-performing schools in the state, which is comparable to our size, Harmony always comes on top.
Is this data public information?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You can see this from a TA website.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
What is not rated?
Not rated
why
means...
do they have campuses not
Good
rated?
question, sir. So not rated means sometimes schools will ask TA if they are first-year operation, and for some reason they will ask them to be not rated for that year. So TA will opt out, will not rate them. Even if we open our schools first year, we are rated for that. We don't ask any waiver and exception, which we could for our new schools.
Okay.
Normally, as you know, first-year school, second year, you may not meet state requirements because you enroll 300, 400 students, which they are not your students. You may struggle, but we continue ask them to rate us. Second page, you also asked me what are the universities that our kids attend. Second and third page shows the top 100 colleges and universities that our students most frequently apply and they get in. And starting with University of Houston, UT Austin, Baylor, A&M. I hate to see A&M number 5, below. But so that's the list of, just to give you an idea, these are the top.
This shows which college is top college. Look at number 1.
Yes, sir. No, I agree. I agree. So, of course, this frequency or number of applicants also relates to the number of high schools we have in each cities, given regions. And these are top 100. This list was, maybe 700 or 800. It was so long. I just cut it down to 100, top 100 list. And so I'll move on to next page, number 4. Really excellent statistics, because this was another question. Mr. Stewart also asked me through email, what % of our students in the United States compared to Harmony? I'm on page 4, top table, infographics. If you have 100 kids at the high school, and at the end of the 6 years, 37% graduate. These are average U.S. students. And if you look at the top income quartile, second line, top income quartile, 88% of kids finish college in 6 years. These are affluent white population. But if you look at, here is the really interesting and unfortunate statistics. If you are bottom quartile in terms of income, only 11% of those 100 kids, 100% who goes to college end up graduating. So, so if you are a low-income students, 90% of those kids will not finish colleges in 6 years. This number for Harmony is 33%. Again, it's not great, but it is 3 times higher because we have really high low-income ratio. We are in top lowest quartile in terms of this. So in about 6 years, 33% of our low-income students finish schools. These numbers for Harmony, obviously it's still young, and we are collecting data since 2010-11 school years. And our goal is to increase this number as much as we can. And I always talk about in the past, I think this is really critical. If you really pay attention, if there are 2 reasons the kids do not finish college. There are so many reasons, but 2 major reasons. One, academic college readiness. If the kids are ready for college, if we prepare our kids fully for college, only 38% of the kids who finish college because of their academic readiness. 27-28% of the reason they drop out because of they cannot find money. If you combine academic readiness and financial reasons, if we prepare our kids and if they have money, suddenly college graduation will be almost 68%. So we can prepare our students fully, but we need to find funding for them to really bump up this number to a 60% level. That's why we always need additional funding for our alumni, for our graduates, so we can support them for financial incentives, so they can stay in college. All right. I also included.
So our goal is 60%?
No, I said our goal is to.
Up to.
There is no ceiling for this. 100% is our ceiling. But of course, if you look at the statistics in the national, it's 88%.
Okay.
So I think that this could be our goal. So on the bottom of the page 4, I included some reflection from alumni. Picture you see on this page, one of our initial teachers from Braeswood location, and standing next to one of our a graduate from Braeswood. She is a dentist, optometrist, sorry, working at the VA hospital. She finished Angelina Tran, graduate from very first school, Harmony HSA Houston. Now she is working as a doctor. And you have several other reflections from our graduates on page 5. I'll skip this. When you have time, you'll read it. And then page 6, I just want to give you some highlights. Page 6, the orange, whoever choose this color, we need to talk again. We need to have maroon color here. Okay, since 2013 until 2020, the orange line shows all of our current and expected number of alumni, graduates from Harmony. The blue bars are the current, expected, anticipated number of seniors graduating from Harmony. So as of 2017, we will have 1,219 students graduating from Harmony. That's going to add up to 5,000 already graduated from Harmony. If you follow me, if you look at the top bar graph, page 2017, by 2020, in 2020 actually we will have 2,266 graduates on that year. That will add up to 10,798 graduates collectively, cumulatively. So the number of impact that our students will create in the system is going to go up to 10,000 in 2020. The next, at the bottom bar graph, talks about Harmony College enrollment percentages during the fall right after graduation. Since, again, we collect this data since 2012. If you look at our HBS college enrollment, in 2012 it was 86%, 2013 it was 93%, and then 14, 15, and 16, that our college enrollment, not acceptance, 100% acceptance, but 85% of our students who actually enroll colleges. If you look at the state and national statistics, you will see the Texas average is 56%, and the national average is about 62%. So we are almost 30% and 40% higher than national and state average, respectively.
What happened in 2013 that it went up to 93%?
I don't have the detailed information. We can dig in and find out.
No, you don't have to. I was just wondering if it was a campaign or you did something different.
So whatever it is, let's do it again.
Yeah.
No,
I think really that's a good question. And to me, as long as we are at 90% above, we're in good shape, and we're close to that level. So again, if I remind you back to the previous infographics, even if you have 85% of enrollment, at the end of 6 years, we end up, if you take out the low income ratio, we end up at 30%, 35% graduation. So that's again, we have a lot of things to work and accomplish. I have to remind you, these are our graduates. They are not students at Harmony. These are alumni. So in a sense, of course, once they leave, it becomes the responsibility of the colleges to make sure they graduate. But we want to track these alumni, and so they can be productive and responsible citizens for this nation. And my last page, last slide, again, we talked about briefly and asked me to provide how many administrators, principals we relocate for new campuses. Okay, so I break down this number to, starting with 2014, 15 school year, 15, 16, and 16 and 17. If you look at the bottom of the total, in 2014 we had 16 principals relocation, in 2015, 16, 21, and 7 last year. And then on the top, you can see how many schools we open. And the breakdown is whether these new principals are new hires, we relocate them, or promote them. If I give you an explanation, new hire meaning that hiring a new principal, although we have never hired new principal from outside, when I say new hire, these are the principals who used to work for us as a principal or administrator. For some reason, they left us or went to another school, another sister schools, and they came back to our organization as a principal. And relocation meaning that, remember we talked about if we're opening a new campus, basically we actually take one principal from this location to another location and promote a person within the system. So in 2000, last year we had only one principal. We opened 2 schools. 1 was new hire, 3 was relocation for either personal or family reasons, and 3 were promotion. They were assistant principal, became principal. I don't know if this helps you to understand. Yes.
It does.
And, yeah.
No, it's very helpful. It does understand the trend and also the total number of changes.
Yes, and then this year, this coming year, this number is going to be 0. We're going to have 7 new schools. It'll be 0, most likely 0 new hire. It's going to be 0 relocation. It's going to be 7 promotion for 7 new schools. That's our hopeful that we want to do. So.
Relocation will be 0, are you sure?
For this coming year, because all of our current principal, I'm talking about this coming year.
Okay,
We
so
anticipate
we are going
this,
to read.
I'm talking about, no, this is 2016-17, this past year. This coming year, 2017 and 18 school year, we anticipate, we know that already right now, we have
new
seven
will open, then 7 people will
7
be
promotion.
moved to the new locations.
Yes, sir. That's the anticipated number, unless.
So none of the current principals will go to the new locations?
No, sir.
New, probably assistant principals will be promoted to the principal position, and they will just go
yes.
to new locations.
Yes. We already
Very good.
identified 7 7 assistant principal, and they have been trained today. This month, the training for the new assistant principal is today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. I know it started last month, but this month training day is 3 days, so they are here. Mr. Yüksel remind me. I wish I remember earlier I would actually bring them to meet you, so they can also see maybe as part of their professional growth training, they could actually sit in the entire board meeting and learn how to interact
and change
with
their minds to be not to be
So we have 7 new aspiring assistant principal going to be taking the leadership of new schools.
I have 2 questions.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the high school graduation rate for us? I mean, what's the percentage? High school graduation rate?
High school graduation rate
I think today we had in one of the presentations, it is 98%.
98.
Not mistaken.
No, 98%, that's the dropout attention. Do we have firm number?
I can get it later. I mean, you can send it. I just want to know what the high school graduation.
So,
okay, so it's like that.
So what was it again? I'm sorry.
98, 99, fluctuates. We can.
99% of the graduation rate. Okay, high school. Okay. The other thing is, you made a comment twice already about we always hire within. What does that mean?
Just like.
I mean, I know what it means, but why, and what is it? Why do we do that?
Because, every organization has a different philosophy, different way of really grooming their own leadership succession plan. Based on that, so far, I'm not saying this is the ideal plan, but so far it worked for us. And we also question ourselves whether this could be inbreeding, because, if you always promote somebody inside, they know your culture, they know your expectation, how to replicate this program, how to conduct without a lot of, training, resource development. I mean, there are some other great organizations that I've listed in this, comparison study, like KIPP, Uplift. They do participate and enroll and get funding for create a teacher leadership program. And we have started this initiative. If we get funding, certainly we will be able to start and maybe train on a longer term new principals and maybe hire from outside. But so far, we with a limited funding, we pretty much groom our own leadership within our organization. So, and maybe one day we'll be open to include people from outside to be a leader. I mean, many times it's really easy or less headache for others to come in as assistant principal, learn our system, and be the principal in the next 2 to 3 years.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tarim. It was very informative.
Thanks,
I
sir.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
So yeah, thank you, Dr. Tarim.
And I can
it was very
provide
informative.
email copy, sorry.
Yeah,
Dr.
can you?
I can
yeah,
provide
for
the
our
PDF or
records?
email copy of this board presentation.
Sure.
Because, you asked me Friday, we had to compile this data.
You did it very fast.
Thank you. And no, I actually, folks in this here, they put together this data. I just presented.
Thank you.
And, but definitely, Osman will provide this in your package.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, so at this point, is there any, before we adjourn or we take a motion for adjourning, is there any closing remarks? Any Yeah, it might be a little bit confusing. First, we have April 19 meeting, right? So in 2 weeks, exactly today, I guess, Tuesday. No, it's Wednesday on a regular day. It's so we have April 19 meeting. Yes. By the way, I think everybody except Daisy met with Marcy. She's our coach from Board on Track. So she will come here. She will help us to facilitate the meeting and also some of the items that we are going to discuss, especially setting up the governance committee. And other than that, the May meeting now is scheduled for May 9th.
What
Okay.
is that a Tuesday, Wednesday?
It's the Tuesday one. It's the Tuesday one.
Good.
So then we can have a motion to adjourn the meeting, unless you want to stay.
April 19.
You cannot make
2
a
weeks,
motion.
1 day from today, we are going to have one regular meeting. Is that regular
Yes,
meeting?
yes,
Regular meeting. And May 9, we are going to have another meeting.
yes.
Yes, sir.
So we are going to set up 2 meetings per month after this. Or like
No, can I clarify?
one meeting every week. So how
Dr.
will
Koch.
that work?
No, we're going to have weekly meeting now.
Yeah, weekly. The reason is our March was March 22nd. What this meeting is, just we moved it. So this was our original March meeting. And our original April is April 19, but original May, we have to take it back because of the bond sale. But we had this special meeting in between for the school approval. So we are still going a monthly meetings, but we had to make some last minute changes. So in the future, we want to avoid those type of things,
So
to avoid confusion.
In May, there is no other meeting.
No, that's the May meeting,
Okay.
unless
May 9th, right?
May 9th.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, there's no other meeting, and then I think June is mid-June. It's always the third week of, third Wednesday, but,
Are
okay.
you going to change the committee meetings accordingly, or how will that work?
I'm sorry, sir?
Committee
The
meetings?
Committee meetings.
Most likely, we propose you a dates for that, yes.
So we are going to change
Yes,
them
sir.
as well.
Yes,
All right.
that's a good question, yeah.
Yeah,
Committee meetings, adjustments.
all right. Motion is not coming for some reason. Any,
Okay, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
all right, anybody wants second?
Second.
All right, everybody in favor of adjourning this meeting, say aye. Aye. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. We appreciate all the staff members who stayed here and our council, Bob Schulman, as well.